$90 million, that's an awful lot of money. You've done the homework, you've drilled down into where on earth this money is being wasted, and I tell you, I was absolutely horrified when I read your article and you pointed out how this money is being spent. Just take us through some of the most absurd examples, but also tell us why this money is being spent at all.
Well, this is actually $90 million isn't that much compared to how much the Australian Research Council has given humanities projects in the last 17 years. So that's $1.34 billion of taxpayers' money. Yep. So this is a drop in the ocean, really. Out of all the 100, research projects that I went through, most of them were science, most of them were sort of fairly decent. There were 3 or 4 humanities projects, which are the ones that I talked about in the article, which are just ridiculous. And, the majority of them come from the University of Sydney, which is no surprise. This is the same university that talks about resurgent racism, multi-species justice, eco-poetics that I think I talked about with you last time I was on your show. All this ridiculous stuff. And it just shows how much the humanities in Australia are just mired in this swamp of identity politics and this sort of pseudo-Marxism. But my problem is that they don't think it's a swamp. They think they're enlightened. So you have these ridiculous courses, which I don't have in front of me, but you've got...
Well, I've got them in front of me, Bella, so we'll go through them one by one.
Yeah,
and I want you to tell us...
you're going to read them out for the laughs.
I will. I certainly will, and we'll put them up on the screen as well. Take us through them one by one. The first one, $1,052,328 goes to eliminating sexual violence within the military. And we are told that military sexual violence, or sexual violence that occurs within national militaries, is a complex and gendered international problem. So how is our $1,052,320 going to be spent, Bella?
Well, you don't really find out from the proposals. I assume she's going to be travelling. I assume that Professor Megan Mackenzie will be visiting various armies across the UK and the US. But this is the same professor who, has this discipline called Gender and War, which is totally fictitious. And she wrote an article last year talking about the fact that most white men are responsible for climate change. And that was an ABC article, so again, taxpayer funded.
Good.
So she has an agenda. She's received $400,000 for another research proposal before this, like 3 years ago. So she's doing pretty well out of the ARC. OK, well, $1,006,500 goes to someone to do interviews in Yemen, Iraq, Pakistan and Somalia to see what it's like to live under Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the Taliban and Al-Shabaab. What do you think it might be like, Bella? Can I tell them for a bit less than $1 million? I think it might be pretty terrible, actually, and I don't think it will take $1 million.
There you go, Dan.
Taxpayers' money.
You've just saved $1 million, Dan. You got it from Bella. And Rita will tell you the same. It's rat house living in those places. OK, wait for this. This is the one that got me. $1,011,852 goes to, hold on, a sonic approach to anti-colonialism in interwar India. And we learn that the lucky recipient of this $1 million is to apply the methods of sound studies to the history of anti-colonialism in India. Bella, is this Titania McGrath or Monty Python, or what is this?
Oh, I wish it were, but this is totally serious. And, you're asking me to explain it, but I have as much of a clue about what's going on there as anyone else, which is probably why it got past the national interest test, because the people reading the projects have no idea assume that it must be something worthy because they don't know what they're talking about. It's just appalling. And, the most appalling thing for me is that we're paying for this. This is our money. And if these academics had to lobby for funding, they wouldn't get a cent. Mainstream Australians would not fund this stuff.
And there's plenty more of it as well, Bella, James.
There's so much.
I was just going to say, where does all this end? Because I'm looking at a story out of Illinois this week that says that a lawmaker has called for an abolition to all history courses because they say that the current curriculum leads to white privilege and a racist society. And I'm just wondering, is there a connection between this that we see in academia, and are we going to start to see this start to pollute the rest of our already pretty dire curriculum in Australia? I mean, you can't contain this to just these sort of little bits of the universities, can you?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, this decolonising the curriculum has been around in the US and in England, and it's coming here as well. In fact, there was a movement about 5 years ago here, surprise, surprise, led by the people at the University of Sydney, asking the question, why is my curriculum so white? And I actually looked it up earlier today, and the link doesn't work anymore, so they've obviously lost interest in that for a bit. But it is part of the whole movement of rejecting. Well, first of all, it's politicizing the present. It's racializing the curriculum, and it's promoting the past as something that's impinging on the present. It's totally crazy. It's a terrible way to look at the world.
It sure is.
And it's going to come to Australia because, Australian academics follow the fashion of what's going on in the UK and the US, so we'll have to fight it.
And the worst thing is, Bella, we pay for it. Keep up the great work at the IPA there, Western Civilization Director, Bella de Brera, Dr. Bella de Brera. Thanks so much for coming on Outsiders, and we'll see you soon.